Welcome in to your weekly dose of Conference USA. I'm Devin Lockhart alongside some special guests this week, Willie Fahler and David Kassman. How we feeling?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Yep, feeling good. Thanks for having me on.
Good. It's like medicine, folks. You gotta get your daily dose in. We got it all here for you on CUSA All Access. We're gonna kick it off with some college football. Starting off, give it up for UTEP Miners, picking up their first win in 2 years. They beat FIU in a thriller, 30 to 21. Willie, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's at the least program changing, really. It's the first win for new head coach Scotty Waldron, and it was a bit up and down, especially with being able to call it even because Florida International was on their second string quarterback. And, that's a tough situation, but you got to get the job done in El Paso, and they weren't able to do that. So it's really great for UTEP.
David?
Yep, and I think turnovers are really what killed FIU in this game. They had 4 of them, and it just killed any opportunity they had to score points.
Yep. It was a dogfight, definitely. You brought up a good point on their backup quarterback, and it's going to be a interesting one for UTEP this upcoming week because they are going against La Tech. But with that being said, maybe that's a kickstart. We'll dive into that later. But now we have a top-tier matchup in Conference USA. WKU gets the job done with beating Sam Houston 31-21. Tight ends were out in full force for both sides. But don't get me wrong, with the offensive player of the week for Conference USA was quarterback Holden Veldkamp. Willie, you have some stats on him, and how'd he stand out?
Veldkamp really had a wonderful week. It is understating to call him the conference player of the week. He went 20 for 29 in the pass game with 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. He took care of the ball, led Western to a great victory against Sam Houston, and he seems to be the guy in Western now.
You're not wrong. Where would TJ Finley go from here? Do you think he'll take a backup role, or do you think he'll go into the transfer portal again?
I'm not sure Finley has a choice to stay at Western, to be honest with you. Veldkamp's been there, and he's proven that it's his job, and on the injury report, it still lists Finley as being weeks away from returning. So even if he wants to stay in Western Kentucky, I don't think they really give him the option.
David?
Yeah, I think Finley, back a couple weeks back when he played against Middle Tennessee, he did not look very good, and so I think he's probably going to have to transfer.
Definitely will be interesting to see where he goes. Was a gruesome injury that he suffered against Middle Tennessee a couple weeks ago, and but Holden Veldkamp stepped right into those shoes, did not miss a beat. Do you think he was able to step into those shoes and be an absolute dog because of the talent around him?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good...
I think that plays a major part in Veldkamp's success so far at Western, but I think another part of it is he's been there, This is not his first year there. He's been in the system. He knows the coaches. He knows the plays. And I feel like that plays a big factor with, familiarity is a really big thing in the pass game. So I think Western's skill guys are comfortable with him, and they are rolling, and we're just here to see it.
You brought up a good point, and I want to raise this question based off what you just brought up. Familiarity and the ability to stay in a system and get used to it, and your locker room conversations, your team morale. How do you guys think it's been held up in college football, especially, and in Conference USA, for a person like Holden Veltkamp, who has extreme talent? He was riding the bench for a while, but he had the opportunity to enter the transfer portal. With the transfer portal and NIL, the question to you guys is, how do you guys view the team morale in locker rooms, even if you're talking a smaller school, like a non-power school, Middle Tennessee, or UTEP, or Western Kentucky, compared to a Oregon, Georgia, Texas? How do you guys compare it, and how do you think the locker room and team morale will change, or has changed, due to the ability with transfer portal?
I think that, I don't know, I think it changes the character maybe a little bit. Maybe guys think a little more of themselves than they did before because of the money that they're earning, but I think that they'll all be making a little bit, and so I'm not sure that it changes it a lot, but I think it maybe does enough to make guys maybe work a little harder, because they know that if they perform better, then their name means a little more, and that those brands will reach out to them and they'll get more opportunities.
See, that's where I disagree with you, David. I think that the turnover of rosters and players leaving every which way, it plays a large part in team chemistry and locker room morale, as we mentioned, because you think traditional college football, you think getting recruited out of high school, going to campus, redshirting, playing your 4 years, and if you're lucky enough to move on to play professionally. And now it seems as though every year when you tune in to your favorite team, whether that's Georgia or Oregon, or if you're a CUSA fan and that would be Middle Tennessee or New Mexico State, it's a whole new cast every year. And if you were able to retain a quarterback that Western has, even in the situation that Veltkamp's in, when he hasn't always been consistently the varsity quarterback, the number one guy, your A-team dude, I think just him being there and building a relationship with the coaching staff and the skill players that have been there, and even the skill guys coming in, I think that plays a really large part in success nowadays.
I would agree with you, Willie. That plays a role into the recruitment, especially when you're being viewed by an NFL scout. The ability you have of, I would say, commitment to one team. Yes, you have the ability. You may think you have the talent. People may have not seen it, but you're like, you could have had the ability to go somewhere else, maybe go to a bigger school. But the team commitment there shows the NFL scouts a lot. But there are quarterbacks, wide receivers, and special teams players who have played a big role in everyone's team, even transferring because of people like the special teams player of the week, Omar Kelly. He was at Auburn. He was doing pretty well. But Derek Mason recruited him out of high school. He became a freshman. Derek Mason left, and now they are reconnected this year at Middle Tennessee. In my opinion, guys, he followed Mason and realized he may have a better shot at the NFL draft because of the lesser of competition rather than the SEC. maybe pick up a couple more touchdowns, a couple more yards. Do you think that played a role into his decision? And what is your opinion on the decision of Omar?
I think that Kelly's decision to transfer out of Auburn to go to a smaller school like Middle Tennessee was based entirely on reps and playtime because, as you mentioned, Devin, NFL scouts look at game film. They're not looking at how you're standing on the sideline shaking your best friend's hand as he goes and dances in the end zone after he scores, when it should have been you in that place. So I think that Amari Kelly decided to come to Murfreesboro solely because of the playtime opportunities that would be available for him and the looks that it would get him professionally.
Yeah, to add what you said, Willie, I think Omari Kelly had only 5 receptions when he was at Auburn, and so coming here, he was immediately one of the stars on the offense. You've got the punt return for a touchdown he had this past week, and then the majority of Middle Tennessee's big plays have seemed to resolve around him, and so I think what you said is exactly true.
Yeah, that definitely plays a big role into it with regards to his playing time. I also think it was a lot due to Derek Mason. Big team morale guy, and he was recruiting him. So that's one of the reasons he transferred, in my opinion. But you mentioned the the punt return for a touchdown this week, as MTSU picked up their second win of the season, first conference win this year against a struggling Kennesaw State. They won 14-5. Now here's a question that gets raised. A win is a win, but in your opinion, it was against Kennesaw State. Do you think MTSU had a lackluster performance?
Not to make excuses for this Middle Tennessee squad and Derek Mason, but there are plenty of opportunities for them to do so. This game was played on a Tuesday night off of the school's fall break, so there was nobody in the stands, and it was cold. Football games are cold. I get that, but as a high school football player, you don't want to play in the cold. And along with that, the weekday CUSA games on Tuesday, as I mentioned, that just completely changes how the teams prepare and the mindset going into it, and even the physical health. So as much as these outlying things are there, there's no excuse for MTSU to be, one, giving up a safety to Kennesaw in the first quarter, first offensive drive of the game. It's absolutely terrible.
First offensive play.
Yeah, first offensive play even. And for them to not even be able to pull away, and the game stayed within 14-5. I think that it's just a terrible look, and I think the rest of the conference is looking at Middle Tennessee on their schedule and licking their chops.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a pretty win, but they were able to prevent their offensive turnovers. They didn't throw any picks or fumbles, which they've struggled with over the past couple weeks, and they were able to get the ball to Holden Willis more often, which he had 8 receptions for almost 100 yards and almost trucked his way into the end zone. But I think they need to get him the ball more, especially with the offensive line struggling. It buys Vadiato a little more time.
Yeah, he was very successful on those slant routes. The speed, I think Omar needs to definitely get more involved. But a player like Cradle was able to step up in the shoes of injured Frank. But we have a lot of injuries throughout the whole team. Your safety is a 4-string quarterback. He came to MTSU to play quarterback. Maybe not start, but his idea was to play quarterback. And playing time is valuable in any sport. And when he was offered, he said yes. Secondary, that's an issue maybe to heavily attack. Defensive line is probably our best role in the whole team. That and special teams. But this was a lackluster performance, in my opinion. But there were some things that you can say, well, injuries here, which has been the cause of the whole season, but it was still a underperforming Kennesaw State, who you should have started running away with it. It wasn't, maybe not a full-on blowout, but like towards the fourth quarter, you should have started running away with it. And that's where I didn't see that from Derek Mason, but at the same time, he could be being more cautious and not trying to run away with it and cause more injuries. But that's still an interesting question to be raised with regards to defensive line being the best throughout the whole team. Your next opponent is Jacksonville State, and they're run heavy. They are very run heavy. So right now the line is 21.5 in favor of Jacksonville State. Do you think, guys, Jacksonville State will hang 21 up against MTSU? Even though they're a run-heavy offense, will they open up the air game because our secondary is on the weaker side, rather than the aspect of the defensive line is one of the best defensive lines in Conference USA?
The defensive line unit for MTSU is a wonderful unit. However, with the 20-point line, there's no chance this game's close. There's no chance this game's close. Jacksonville State's coming off of a bye. The team is very well rested. And along with that, they're averaging 54 points per game so far this season, and they are 26th in offensive yards per game in the country at 447.7 yards a game. On the other side of the ball for MTSU, going up against that 447 yards a game, is the 124th overall ranked defense that's giving up 450 yards a game. So if anything, MTSU just lets Jacksonville State add on to their wonderful numbers, and I genuinely think that it's over 20 points for Jacksonville State.
David?
I don't think it'll get that ugly. I don't think they'll get 20-point differential with Middle Tennessee, but I think that they'll probably try and open up the passing game a little bit, like you said. But the Middle Tennessee should be able to slow down their run game a little bit.
Yeah, I think they're going to open up the pass game more, but Middle Tennessee will slow down the run game, like you said. It's going to be close. We'll have to wait and see. We'll do some picks later, and we'll see what happens in that one. Drama. To round out the football that has happened in this past week, New Mexico State beats Louisiana Tech 33-30. And not just one, it took them 2 times in double overtime to get the job done. That shows resilience right there. Do you think, first of all, I want to hear your takes on this game, and then I also want to raise the question of UTEP is facing Louisiana Tech. They're coming off a tough loss. Do you think UTEP can get the job done and put up back-to-back wins in Conference USA, guys?
Well, just going back on what you said, looking at the Louisiana Tech and New Mexico State game. Louisiana Tech had every opportunity to win this game, and they had it down to the wire. I believe that it was 3 seconds left in the game. Louisiana Tech was going to kick a game-winning field goal, and New Mexico State stepped up and blocked it, took it to overtime. It was the first overtime game for the program since 2017 in their bowl game against Utah. And New Mexico State showed some great resiliency. There was a situation where their backup quarterback, Brandon Nunez, had to come in, and he went 4 for 7 with 49 yards and was able to manage the game to an Aggie victory. So I really think that it's a big win for New Mexico State last week.
David?
Yeah, it was definitely an exciting game, but I think that LA Tech comes back this week and they're able to defeat UTEP.
It's going to be a fun one to watch, and it will definitely be interesting with regards to momentum rolling for on the UTEP side of things, where Louisiana Tech does try to bounce back. Tough break, but what we saw from New Mexico State, do we now see something brewing like WKU, where the backup quarterback came in, he did quite well, and now that becomes your number one guy?
I'm not really sure that New Mexico sees the same luck that Western Kentucky was able to see. The role that Brandon Nunez played this week in stepping in for whatever reason in New Mexico, it just wasn't as dramatic as Veltkamp's role in Western, because Veltkamp stepped in for the injured TJ Finley when they played MTSU in Murfreesboro, and it was a whole different offense. They were able to just take over and ultimately pulled away from Middle Tennessee and ran away with it. But New Mexico State didn't have the same luck. Nunez came in and played great. He protected the ball. He did his job, and that's what they needed him to do. But to see the same results as Western, he's really going to have to step it up, and I'm just not sure if that's in the cards for New Mexico this year with Nunez.
Yeah, I think that New Mexico State got some luck with that. I think that they'll probably go back to their starting guy as soon as he's healthy, though. Like you said about Western, I don't think that they're going to find the same luck, and I think they'll go back to the starting guy.
Yeah. With regards to going back to the starting guy, I would say they'll not find the same luck, but I think New Mexico State will not stick with the backup for now, but give him more chances with regards to, is this really like just a one and done magic, or did St. Patrick's Day come early and find the leprechaun and with the jackpot? But moving on to some volleyball. MTSU split their 2-game series against Liberty. Western Kentucky swept Louisiana Tech. New Mexico State swept FIU. UTEP, interesting one right here, swept Jacksonville State. And Sam Houston split against Kennesaw State. Out of the games that I just mentioned, what catches your eye?
Western sweep of Louisiana Tech is it's not interesting. I'd say we all had a feeling that that sweep was going to be there, but what stood out to me about it was just how dominant Western was. I really think this series against Louisiana Tech showcased that they belong at the top of the conference in the same conversations as UTEP, and I just think that it was a great look for Western, really.
Yeah, the UTEP game versus Jacksonville State is what stood out to me. It was just the dominance by UTEP. They won all 6 sets out of the 2 matches, and they just completely swept away Jacksonville State.
Yep. To me, it was the Sam Houston split against Kennesaw. It didn't stand out to me that how Kennesaw State came alive. What stood out to me was Sam Houston didn't perform to the level that they usually do. they're one of the better teams in volleyball. And with that being said, Kennesaw State is about middle of the pack. So do you guys think Sam Houston really performed to their top level? In my opinion, I don't think so.
I completely agree with you, Devin. It wasn't in my cards really on just looking at that docket of volleyball this weekend that was going to be a split. I'd kind of just chalked it up as a Sam Houston State sweep, and that's on me for not knowing ball, but this split was not in the cards for me.
And not me either. I thought that it would be one-sided.
Yep, same. So give it up, Kennesaw State. Shocked us, probably shocked the world. But to soccer. We're coming to a close now with soccer, the soccer regular season. 2 big games. MTSU, Middle Tennessee took a loss, and now they're out of the bubble in the conference tournament, looking in. They're still eager, and Kennesaw State, you did it again. You shocked us in volleyball, and you shocked us in soccer as they beat FIU to hand FIU their first conference loss of 2024. What do you guys think went right for Kennesaw to get the job done against FIU, who is dominant?
Kennesaw was, they capitalized on the opportunities that were available to them. There weren't many. There was a 25-4 shot differential in this game, with Florida International having the 25, and a 7-3 shot on goal differential with Florida International having the 7. And just Kennesaw had limited opportunities and did the most with what was available to them, and shut down Florida International, who was constantly on the attack.
Yeah, Kennesaw scored all throughout the game, so FIU had several opportunities to try and make a comeback, but in the end, with all of their shots included, they weren't able to score a single goal.
Yep. For this game, I would say consistency. And that is throughout sports, not just soccer, throughout the whole sports world. High school. You could even bring it down to Little League flag football, Little League baseball. Consistency is what wins games. And Kennesaw State showed that. But the thing is, with consistency, it was quantity over quality. They only had 4 shots. Those 4 shots were successful shots. So I think that really bolstered their confidence going late into the season, hopefully getting to the conference tournament. Now MTSU, Middle Tennessee, struggled. But they're down. They're not out of it yet. With that being said, because they're looking into the bubble right now for the conference tournament, how do you guys think MTSU will respond in these upcoming weeks as we inch closer and closer to the tournament?
The response from Coach Roden's squad is going to be really interesting to watch with the conference schedule that's left for the team. They play the top half of the conference for the rest of the year, and this loss to Sam Houston had some really big playoff implications, as it took Sam Houston in the Middle Tennessee spot, and as Devin has mentioned, bumped them out of the bubble. So something's going to have to give for Middle Tennessee, or Coach Roden and his group of girls are going to have a quick end of the season.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a wake-up call for Middle Tennessee, but throughout the season they've shown resiliency, and I don't think that's going to stop here. I think they're going to continue and try to make a push for the playoffs, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yes, definitely. I do think they will eke into the playoffs. With Coach Roden, he is a very successful coach and makes sure his girls never quit till the final whistle, and that right now is the end of the season, and the season won't be over in the regular season. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, we're here in the borough, in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and we are 3 days away from returning to the Glass House. It's basketball season coming back up here, and it's going to be an interesting one, especially more on the men's side. Here's the thing. Women's, right off the bat, do we think Middle Tennessee will get the job done and go for a three-peat?
I absolutely think that the three-peat is Middle Tennessee's to lose. They got 9 first place votes in the preseason poll, and they are the only team in the conference to receive an AP vote in the top 25. So I really think that it's Middle Tennessee's conference to lose as of right now.
Yep, I agree with Willie. I think that Middle Tennessee will continue their dominance in Conference USA, and I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch. On the men's side of things, you have Louisiana Tech projected to win, but WKU close behind. Do we think that this is one of the tighter races in the conference that we've seen in the past couple years? Because it may be down to the last wire the way things are shaping up.
I really think it's a 3-horse race this year in the men's basketball. Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky, and Sam Houston State were all within 4 points on the preseason conference poll, and I think that is very accurate. I think there are 3 very similar built teams, and I think they are going to compete their tails off all year.
Yeah, I think Middle Tennessee, the men's basketball team hasn't found as much success, and I think that they won't make it in the top 3.
Yep. I would say that, they have returning players, but they also still are on the newer side than what we see in the other teams. But I don't think they'll make it in the top 3, but I think they'll go deep into the conference tournament like they did last year, and maybe make it to the semis. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. And it's time for some picks. Let's get the picks out, and we will start with soccer. FIU at Liberty. This is going to be a real good one, folks. 2 of the top teams. Who do you have and why?
I absolutely think that Florida International is going to have a great bounce back this week. Being shut out against Kennesaw State is inexcusable for Florida. I think they are very embarrassed by that, and it's the first time they've been shut out all year in conference, and the first since they played the University of Miami on September 1st in non-conference play. So I think they come out with vengeance, and they really look to reassert themselves at the top of the conference this week.
Yeah, I think that FIU was definitely a little embarrassed, and I think that they'll come out and it's a little bit of a wake-up call. So I think they'll come out and dominate a little bit.
Yep. I think FIU will win. I don't think it will be as dominating as most people think. It's going to be a wake-up call, but Liberty is a team that you mark on your calendar because they're dominant and they're a team that will not quit. Sam Houston or at UTEP. Interesting one. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the home team, to be honest with you. I think that even in an interstate rivalry like Sam Houston and UTEP, I think UTEP's able to get the job done in El Paso.
Yep, I agree with Willie. I think that UTEP's going to get it done.
I'm going with Sam Houston. Yes, it's at home, but you got to take in the fact that Sam Houston's been on a roll, and I think that momentum will bring new life, and I'm going with Sam Houston. New Mexico State at Louisiana Tech.
I'm going to keep rolling with the home team with Louisiana Tech and Ruston. That's a really long trip for New Mexico State, and I think Louisiana Tech's about to turn a corner on their season.
Yep, Louisiana Tech's my pick as well.
Yep, I'm going with the home team, Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, to get it done. WKU at FIU. A dogfight brewing here on the pitch at FIU. Who do we have?
Florida International. Western's a great team, and I think that Florida International just had a wake-up call losing to Kennesaw, and I don't think they lose a conference game this week.
Yep, I got to go with Florida International.
I'm going with Florida International. This one will be more dominating than the Liberty one. I think WKU will get down early and kind of will be in a shell shock state where they can't crawl back. MTSU at Liberty.
Give me the Blue Raiders. I think MTSU is hungry, and after a almost what you could call devastating loss at Sam Houston State, I think they are going to try to crawl back into the playoff picture.
Yep, I agree. I think that the Blue Raiders definitely received a wake-up call from that loss to Sam Houston, and I think they come out with a win, which is critical for the playoffs.
Yep, very, very critical. I gotta go with MTSU. Coach Roden gets the girls back on track, and they start rolling. They get back into the bubble, but tough schedule coming up. Volleyball, we got some volleyball action this week in Conference USA. Jacksonville State at Sam Houston. Guys, what are we going with?
Sam Houston by far. Jacksonville State's had a rough season, and I think they're past the point of turning it around.
Yep, I've got to go with Willie's opinion.
Yep. Sam Houston. I mean, there's definitely a question, but at the same time, it's at Sam Houston, and they've been rolling. So give me Sam Houston. Liberty at New Mexico State. Now this one could be interesting because Liberty is on a hot win streak, and they have looked good. But New Mexico State, never doubt them, as they are one of the dark horses in Conference USA.
I think the Aggies have a very distinct home field advantage in this conference. They are the farthest west team, and that is a long little trek from Lynchburg, Virginia. I think that it ends up being a series split. Liberty's hot, and I think they stay semi-successful, but they're not able to pull it off in New Mexico.
Yep, I think that Liberty's going to get it. I think they're going to split as well.
I'm actually going to go with New Mexico winning. Complete sweep. First game, I would say about 5 sets. 4 sets. Second game, 5 sets. Full 5. New Mexico State gets it done. Liberty, they'll be a little too jet lagged, I think, and have a tough time climbing back into it. Kennesaw State at FIU. Who gets it done there?
I'm going to maintain my last take. I think this one's a series split. It's middle of the pack on the conference, and I think they just maintain their status quo in the season.
I think FIU might take the 2 matches or the series 2-0.
Yep. I gotta go with Kennesaw. Tough loss on the front line. FIU suffered, but with the injury, but that will stop them only a little. 2 more left in volleyball. Western Kentucky at UTEP. This is a good one.
Oh boy, this is, I mean, it is it's the series of the season for Conference USA, really. Boy, I'm going to take UTEP sweeping. UTEP was the first team to 20 wins in Division I volleyball, and Western is a wonderful team, but I don't think they're a match for what's going on in El Paso right now.
Yep, I think that UTEP's dominance right now is just too much, and I think they'll take it 2-0.
I think they'll split here as Western Kentucky just dominates the first game with blocks, but UTEP crawls back and handles Western Kentucky in the second game. Louisiana Tech at MTSU. Who do we have?
It's a Middle Tennessee sweep for me. Louisiana Tech hasn't won a set in their last 4 matches or their last 2 series. And honestly, I think the Blue Raiders keep that streak going. I think there's only 6 sets played this week in Murfreesboro, and I think they all go to the Blue Raiders.
I think that Middle Tennessee may split it with LA Tech.
I'm going with a clean sweep for Middle Tennessee, as Louisiana Tech is in a bit of a rough patch right now, and it's at Middle Tennessee, so I think that plays a little factor into it. But that will do it for volleyball. Okay, 4 games left. MTSU at Jacksonville State tomorrow. Who do we have?
Jacksonville State. Middle Tennessee's defense is poor, and Jacksonville State's high-strung offense, especially on the ground, even with the great D-line that MTSU has showed, I don't think they're a match to stop it. The only hope for the team really is Nick Vadiato snaps out of his illness that he had last week that slowed him down against Kennesaw State. If Middle Tennessee's going to win the game, it's going to be Vadiato having wonderful ball control, slowing the game down, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I've got to go with Jacksonville State. I don't think it'll quite be 21 points, but I've got Jacksonville State by 14.
MTSU bounces back, and I'm saying MTSU picks up a huge road win against Jacksonville State. Rapid fire. Tomorrow we have as well Liberty at Kennesaw. Who do we have?
Liberty. Kennesaw is one of the worst teams in the FBS, and they are at the bottom of the barrel for the conference. Liberty, by far.
Yep, I've got to go Liberty. They're favored by 25. I don't think you can bet against them in this one.
Yep, I'm going Liberty, and I think Caden Salter is going to have himself a day. Maybe a career yards passing, but that's going to be a fun one to watch. Tonight, UTEP at Louisiana Tech. Who do you have?
Louisiana Tech, the UTEP Cinderella story and the good feelings in El Paso after the first win in a few years. It's wonderful, but there's a quarterback carousel going on right now, and Louisiana Tech has showed potential to be a high-strung offense, and I think we see it again tonight.
Yep, I've got to take Louisiana Tech by 5.
I'm going with UTEP. Louisiana Tech has been rolling down, but UTEP, I think they're still on the high, and I think they'll get that done at Louisiana Tech. Final game, final pick. Sam Houston at FIU tonight.
FIU's going to have great feelings tonight. They're going to look good. Starting quarterback Keon Jenkins is back, and I think that's large for Florida International, but it doesn't matter. Sam Houston is dominant, and they're going to keep it rolling against FIU.
Yep, I've got to go Sam Houston.
I think Sam Houston will spoil the party with 305. At 305 against FIU, Sam Houston gets it done. That will do it for us. Thank you guys for joining us this week. Alongside David and Willie, I'm Devin Lockhart, and you can catch us next week for your weekly dose of CUSA All Access. And as always, stay Raider ready.